Well, good evening, folks. Welcome back to the farm. Beautiful evening here this evening. Finally, the wind has died down. We're on the right side of 0 degrees. Oh, maybe there's a touch of wind right there. Yeah, there it is. Just come out from behind the house. It was crazy windy last few days. I thought the yard couldn't get any slipperier, but apparently it can. It got real slippery. There needs the Caterpillar tracks on to get around. But I'm just running some kitchen scraps over to the chickens. The wife's making tomato vegetable soup in the house there, and she's on some, I don't know, she's on some diet, and whatever's in that soup doesn't look like it has a lot of meat in it, so she might be having a table for one on that deal. Just in the chicken house here, and you recall this vacuum style water with the heat plate underneath of it. This thing started leaking. Now, I'm not sure if it's leaking because there's a crack in it. I'm not even sure where exactly it's leaking from. But it's leaking from somewhere. And it's making a puddle in there. Not exactly desirable. You don't want to have a whole bunch of leakage in the chicken house. So tomorrow I'm going to have to stop by the PV Mart or Princess Auto or Keddies or UFA or somewhere. I'm going to get another one of these. But for tonight, I'm going to pull this one out. I do have another older one. Doesn't look like that exactly, but same concept. Because we can't be having water leaking on the floor. So I'm going to do a two-part experiment here. I'm going to disassemble this thing, and I'm going to fill the container with water, but I'm going to put that cap on wherever the spigot is down there, so that technically it shouldn't be able to leak any water. And we'll see if there's a leak in the container somewhere. And then I'm also going to fill the tray. I'm going to separate the tray from the container and put some water just in the tray. Because if the tray is leaking, oh, then maybe I can still use the container somewhere, right? If I just get another tray kind of thing. I don't like to piecemeal part things out too much. Generally, if one piece is wore out, the other one's right behind it. But these things are not cheap. So I'm not much of a gambling man, but if I were to hazard a guess, like I filled that tray, I just put it over there on top of the grating, and I just filled that level with water. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll have a look, and I want to make sure it's like level with water, because if there's even the tiniest crack somewhere down the side, that level will have dropped. But I don't think it's the tray. I think it's this O-ring right here. I think you get a bit of sawdust or a bit of chicken poop or whatever somewhere around this O-ring, or maybe somewhere in the lid. And then this thing just lets a little bit of air come by, just enough to drip, drip, drip. And that's all it would take to make this thing leak and spew all over the floor, and you have a mess everywhere. So I'm going to fill this thing right up. We're going to put the lid on. I'm going to put it right beside that thing. We'll come back again tomorrow. We'll come back and we'll see if one of these things has any less water in them. Because if there's a crack somewhere inside that jug, that water should just leak down to where that crack is. But if there's no leak whatsoever, if the thing's right full still, then I'm going to go with, I got a leaky O-ring. It can't get out anywhere, right? It's not leaving the jug. So therefore, when that cap's pulled off the bottom, air's got to be getting into the top cap and allowing that water to flow out somehow. I tell you, the other thing that really twisted my nipples was this darn dog. So the other day, twice now he's chewed the power cord off of the stock water heater, floating stock water heater. And I fixed it all up, put it back in there, covered it up with a board. And I don't know how. I don't know what laws of physics, what kind of contortion he's doing, but he somehow gets at that cord that is fully covered up and enclosed within the water trough and just chewed the living daylights out of it. So now that water's frozen. So I have a plan there. It's a little bit unconventional, but it is way back here. There we go. I don't know what to do with that other one, but we got this box of nuts. Box of nuts. Who doesn't love a box of nuts? So I'm going to take that power cord end off one of those other floating waters, and I'm going to just line the whole cord with nuts. I probably got 500 nuts here. The whole thing's going to be covered in nuts. Chew on that. chew on them nuts. And I don't think he'll be chewing on it very long before he realizes it's not a lot of fun to chew. And there'll be no chewed off waters. I'm done with that show. All right, had a bit of supper, got the kids to bed. I'm back in the shop here now. And I've got one of the floating stock water heaters here. And this is one, you can see it's got this coiled, whatever this is, like a big long spring or whatever, quite a ways up the cable. And you can see where the dog kind of tied into it there, chewed on it, but didn't get through. So that kind of worked. But it doesn't go the full length of the cable. In fact, it ended right there, and then the dog chewed it off right there. There was another 2 or 3 feet on this cable before he chewed it off. So what I don't want to do is run this one out there and then find out that this thing just gets 6 inches shorter and 6 inches shorter and 6 inches shorter. We can't have that. So I'm going to pop this end off, and I've already snipped this spring once here and then once here. So what I'm going to do is where the dog previously chewed all that stuff up, I'm going to take that off, and then I'll slip on the new section of spring down to the very bottom, and I'm going to armor coat this thing with a whole pile of nuts, and then I'm going to put this other good piece of spring on the very top. That way I've got flexibility on either end, because I think if I pile a whole pile of nuts on this cable, it's going to be very stiff, very rigid. Nobody's going to want to chew it, but it's not going to have the flexibility that perhaps you kind of want in a cord, right? So anyways, I'll get my screwdriver out, get this taken apart, get it armored up. So I got all the mangled up sections of spring. I had to get some wire snippers and cut it into a few little pieces just to get it, because it's flattened out and squished or whatever. But I got the new, or I shouldn't say the new piece, a good section of it on there. That way that cable, still flexible, can still do what it needs to do there. Next thing, we're gonna slide on about 75 of these bad boys. All right, we got her done there. I got 67 nuts on this thing, and it is actually, it is still flexible actually. I probably could have slipped a couple more on there, but that should definitely deter any chewing. That is not going to feel great in the mouth. Now, for anybody that thinks that's maybe a little bit excessive and maybe even perhaps wasteful, I just want to say, yeah, it is totally excessive. But I got these nuts. Well, I shouldn't say we got them for free. My wife got on the buy and sell. Actually, there was an auction. I think it was a Ritchie Brothers sale. She bought a pallet of 4 crates load of stuff. And within those 4 crates, there was a box of these nuts that we'll never do anything with. So it really doesn't cost us anything because we already got them. We're never going to do anything else with them. And, in reality, these floating water heaters, they're, $100 a piece, right? And there's only got so much cord on it, and it's not like you can replace that cord. Once you chew down to there, you're done. You're done. So I'd say that, although it might never float again, that's not the point. I don't really care if it floats. You've seen I put that oven wrap thing on the bottom so I don't melt the hole in the bottom of the water trough. So we can work with that. What I can't work with is a dog with an appetite for power cords. So somebody, I think it was on my TikTok, that said, well, maybe I should just coat the cord in Tabasco sauce or hot sauce or something like that. I could probably do that, but I think that would it would be a short-lived success. I don't think it would be a sustainable thing. This, if he chews through that, he can have it. He can have it. I'll just have to buy one every day and just feed it to him. Because he wins. Anyways, I'm going to head out in the dark and go put this out in the water heater. Holy man, this thing is heavy. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to buy a boat because I've already got the anchor. But I'm going to go throw it in the water trough there and see if we can't get it defrosted. Because the one that he's chewed up is actually frozen in the trough. So it's not the greatest situation right now. But I'll go throw it in there and we'll we'll come back in 24 to 48 hours and see if we're making soup or ice cubes. Well, I just hiked out there in the dark, and that dirty rotter, if he didn't chew the cable off the stock water heater, but he got just the tip of the extension cord too. And of course it's it's the old triple header too, so that's just lovely. I don't know what that cord end's worth to replace, but they probably kick the living daylights out of $30 to replace that piece right there. I think I got one with just a single on it for now, but I strung another extension cord that I had under the deck. Man, that makes me mad. But I guess hopefully we have this problem solved. So now I gotta run into the house, down to the basement, go check out the breaker box, because nothing seemed like it was powered up. It wasn't getting warm when I plugged it in with the new cord there. So I'm assuming that instead of getting real spicy on the tongue, breakers did what breakers do and saved the puppy, which I guess I'm thankful for. Nobody wants to have Chinese food laying out in the corrals over there, but nevertheless, I'd like to have some intact extension cords too. So I'll let you go for now. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. We'll see you tomorrow.